In Guanajuato, Mexico, there is a museum filled entirely with mummies.
Mi nombre es Paloma Robles Lacayo y soy la directora del Museo de las Momias de Guanajuato. El Museo de las Momias de Guanajuato es un recinto sagrado que exhibe una colección de momias naturales.
With 117 bodies in total, the museum has the largest collection of natural mummies in the world. The mummies are the well-preserved remains of people who died during a cholera outbreak in Mexico in the 1800s. The museum is a haunting and eerie experience for visitors, an opportunity to stare death in the face.
Vienen a buscar esa experiencia íntima, ese encuentro místico con la muerte, que propicia la reflexión en torno a la intensidad de su propia vida y el sentido de la misma. Es importante que las personas no le tengan miedo a la muerte y al contrario, lo vean como un fenómeno natural, como una transición inevitable de su existencia, porque finalmente se van a encontrar con ella.
It's very different from every other collection in the world. And if you're a collector at heart, you can't really stop. My name is Hjörtur Sigurðsson. I'm the curator and owner of the Icelandic Phallological Museum. My father was giving a dried bull penis a pistol back in 1974 as a joke, and that somehow sparked the idea, you know, to start collect these things. All the lights are made from scrotum skins. Right now we have 285 different specimens. It's still growing, the collection. We get maybe 3 to 5 every year. The most fascinating thing is the diversity. There are huge differences in size, shapes, color, etc. Here is the biggest specimens we have is a sperm whale. It's about 70 kilos, maybe 150 pounds. And here is one of my favorites, the walrus one. The hardest to get was the human one, no question about that. He was 95 when he died, so the specimen is a bit shrunken, you know. It's what age does to people, you know, everything shrinks. But we're hopeful we'll get a better example soon. People say, you know, they are just happy because they realize that there's nothing lewd here, there's no pornography. It's just, you know, education and fun.
It can be beetles that come off a cactus. It can be the dried urine of a cow, little insects that grow on an oak tree, a chunk of lead that's soaked in vinegar. It's truly amazing. We're in Harvard University outside the Forbes Pigment Collection. Pigment is a very small particle of coloured material that is mixed in with a binding medium. The pigment gives paint its colour. The Forbes Pigment Collection has been brought together over several decades. We have around 2,500 pigments. We have a lot of very unusual and very rare colours. So this is, I think, one of the more unusually named pigments. It's called dragon's blood. It doesn't come from dragons, it comes from rattan palms, and it gives a very bright red pigment. The unusual aspect of mummy has to do with its source rather than the colour itself. And that comes from Egyptian mummies. And it's the resin that's applied to the outside of the bandages. I think the rarest colour that we have is actually an entire ball of Indian yellow. And this is a pigment that is made from the dried urine of cows that are fed only on mango leaves. If you're looking at a work of art and you want to understand what is original and what's a restoration, you will take a tiny sample of pigment and analyze it. A lot of the pigments are actually toxic, so you don't want to handle the pigments and then go out to lunch. There's a green called emerald green that has an arsenic center to it. We can use them for telling if something is real or not. People will say this is by a certain artist, and we can look at the materials that are used and decide if those materials were available during that artist's lifetime. If not, then we have to look at who might have painted that picture. I can't pick a personal favourite. It's like asking to pick a favourite child. No, the other 2,400 would feel left out.
Some of the greatest works of art are just beneath the waves. Standing in just 25 feet of water off the coast of Cancun, Mexico, the Museo Subacuatico de Arte is both a monument to human creativity and the natural beauty of the Caribbean reef ecosystem. The museum is a vast collection of underwater galleries with over 500 sculptures, many focused on themes of human interaction and impact on the environment. The marine park where the museum is located is one of the most visited stretches of water in the world. With nearly 800,000 visitors each year, immense pressure is placed on the native reef ecosystem. That's why every sculpture is made from cement suitable for the growth of coral, seaweed, and algae. The many holes in the sculptures make perfect homes for marine wildlife to colonize and feed off the coral. The hope is that as nature continues to colonize these statues, they will transform into massive reefs, unrecognizable for what they once were. And it's also attractive to humans. It has become one of the most popular dive locations in the area, hopefully signaling a more prosperous relationship between man and nature.
We have sound speed.
Sound rolling.
Ready, Kirk?
Okay.
Roll picture.
The Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History has over 144 million objects, like this narwhal tusk. My name's Kirk Johnson, and I'm in charge of all of them. 99% of the collections are behind the scenes, and these are the people that work with them. This is Carla Dove from the Division of Birds.
Here in the Division of Birds, we have somewhere around 620,000 museum specimens. And that represents about 85% of the diversity of birds in the world. You look at these specimens and you realize that this is where the science is really going to start. We're using our collections to identify birds that collide with airplanes and help us improve aviation safety.
Dr. Bob Robbins, curator of butterflies and moths.
I have been professionally employed as a lepidopterist. I worked on butterflies for about 35 years. This is the essence of my being, is to know everything about butterflies. There's a whole world out there that, unless you look very closely, you don't see. And it's an interesting world, it's a fascinating world, and it is full of practical value for human beings.
This is Ellen Strong, curator of mollusks.
What I love about this collection is its breadth. We estimate that we may have as many as 20 million specimens. We are preserving a record of past life on this planet, of present life on this planet, and preserving that for the future. I take that responsibility very seriously in providing access and caring for the specimens for posterity.
Dr. Jeff Post, curator of the National Gem and Mineral Collection.
Minerals in this collection go from something that formed maybe in the last few tens of years to others that formed more than 3 billion years ago. We know right now there are more than 5,000 minerals that make up the Earth. And in our collection, we probably have more than half of those. Each one's a little piece of the puzzle. And you try to put all these things together and hopefully eventually understand the big picture of how the Earth works.
And Floyd Shockley, collection manager for entomology.
We have just a little over 35 million specimens in the collection. A third of all insect life on Earth is represented by at least one specimen in our collection. When you look at a collection the size of ours, you're starting to get to a point where you can ask really big questions. The questions related to global climate change, habitat destruction, and you can only answer those big questions if you have a lot of specimens collected over a long period of time from a lot of different species.
To understand the Earth and the living things on the Earth, you need to collect those things and preserve them and study them. And that helps you when you need food or when you have a disease. All that stuff arcs back to the fact that we have samples of the whole planet here, and that's how we understand the planet.
Strong Museum in Rochester, New York is also known as the National Museum of Play. More than 500,000 objects are here. My name is Chris Bench. I'm Vice President for Collections at the museum and its Chief Curator. Our collections are divided by category, and here are some of the people who are responsible for them. Nicholas Ricketts is Curator of Board Games.
In our collection, we have around 10,000 board games, and it parallels essentially American history since the Revolution. When you think in terms of games, they all tend to represent the eras in which they were created. It's a different way of getting into the mindset of people who lived 100 years ago.
There's Michelle Parnett-Dwyer, Curator of Dolls.
In this collection, we have more than 15,000 dolls, and it spans from the 18th century to present day. Dolls are special because of the way that we connect with them. We project ourselves, our hobbies, our interests, our values towards others. When we look at the history of dolls and how we've played with them, it shows that we connect to people from the past in ways that we might not have expected.
Martin Reinhardt, head of Pinball and Arcade Game Collections.
We have over 250 arcade machines and over 100 pinball machines in the collection. Pinball is real. You can feel the way the game plays, you can feel the way the game moves as you're playing it. It's just in my nature to keep these machines going. They were made to last 5 years in a commercial environment, and the fact that we have games that are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old is amazing to me.
So I'm curator responsible for general toys, things like action figures and yo-yos. This collection has more than 70,000 objects. Toys always reflect what's going on in the world around them. When it's economic boom times, construction toys are big. When the US is at war, we see all sorts of military and war toys. The toy collection is a wonderful example of how times have changed and people have changed over the years. Play is really important. It's an integral part to who we are as human beings. Only by understanding how play has stayed the same and, more importantly, changed over the years can we understand how we've developed as people and how we've played over the centuries.